on your program here that I spoke with a detective earlier today, and effective Monday, this investigation will essentially be moved to the task force entirely. We will be sending, I believe, 4 detectives and a sergeant to the task force, the FBI, here in Tucson. And then the rest of the detectives have been ordered to essentially...
We've all acknowledged there's a ransom note. It appears to me that the investigators aren't 100% convinced it's legit.
You guys are not prepared for what just surfaced. A development in the Nancy Guthrie investigation has just shaken the entire case, and it's the kind of twist nobody expected. For weeks, people have watched this mystery unfold in real time, buried under theories, speculation, and endless unanswered questions. But now a series of new discoveries is forcing investigators to consider something far more unsettling, the possibility that everything we thought we knew about Nancy Guthrie's disappearance may only be a fragment of the truth. Behind closed doors, some insiders have started asking a chilling question. What if this disappearance wasn't exactly what it appeared to be? What if certain elements of the case were staged or deliberately steered in the wrong direction? According to individuals familiar with the investigation, federal agents have quietly begun reviewing new evidence, surveillance logs, phone records, and digital footprints connected to the night Nancy Guthrie vanished. And the deeper they look, the more the story begins to shift. Certain timelines don't align. Some details contradict earlier assumptions. Investigators are now examining hidden surveillance angles, strange encrypted messages, and digital evidence that may have been altered or misread from the very beginning. Even more concerning, some detectives now believe that people within Nancy's own inner circle might have withheld information or failed to tell the entire story. Then there's the strange mystery surrounding the cryptocurrency wallets linked to the supposed ransom demand. Millions were allegedly requested, yet the accounts remain completely untouched. Deadlines came and went. No transfers occurred. No follow-up communication. Just silence. And in cases involving ransom, that kind of silence is deeply unusual. If the goal wasn't money, then what exactly was the real motive? Across the country, people are asking the same unsettling question: who wanted investigators and the public looking in the wrong direction? And perhaps the most chilling question of all, what happens when the full truth finally surfaces? Because as investigators dig deeper, the picture growing beneath this case is becoming darker than anyone expected. Nancy Guthrie was 84 years old, a wealthy philanthropist with deep influence across business and charity communities. Friends described her as respected, powerful, and widely connected. Then suddenly, she disappeared, vanishing from her home in the quiet Catalina foothills just outside Tucson. According to individuals familiar with the family situation, tensions inside the household had already been building during the weeks leading up to her disappearance. One insider claimed the atmosphere had grown increasingly strained, filled with disagreements, financial worries, and unresolved conflicts. Something was building, the source reportedly said. Everyone could feel it, but no one knew where it would lead. Consider the situation carefully. An elderly woman from a prominent family living in a luxury estate equipped with advanced security cameras and monitoring systems. And yet somehow that same protected home becomes the epicenter of one of the most baffling disappearances in the country. January 31st arrives. Evening settles in. At first, everything about Nancy's routine appears perfectly normal. Her medical monitoring application is still active. Lights inside the house switch on automatically, as they always do. Her usual cup of tea sits untouched in the kitchen. The night begins quietly, ordinary, predictable, until suddenly the routine breaks. The monitoring device disconnects. Digital communication stops. And from that moment forward, the timeline of that night begins to unravel. Family members reportedly tried reaching her, but received no response. No distress call. No warning. Just silence. When investigators later began combing through the evidence, strange details started emerging. Sources say mysterious messages had appeared on Nancy's devices during the weeks before she vanished, calls from unfamiliar numbers, texts that were later deleted, and reports from neighbors describing a suspicious man lingering near the property days earlier. But the mystery doesn't end there, because Nancy's disappearance wasn't happening in isolation. The Guthrie family has long been tied to powerful networks, major financial ventures, charitable foundations, and high-value real estate projects. And once investigators began tracing those connections, an entirely new layer of questions started to surface. Some investigators who reviewed the evidence described one detail in particular as deeply unsettling. It looked controlled, almost too controlled, one person familiar with the case reportedly said, like someone wanted us to see it. Then there is the surveillance video showing a masked individual moving through the property. The figure wears gloves and moves slowly with calm, deliberate steps, the kind of confidence that suggests familiarity with the layout. Whoever it was appeared to know exactly where to go. Yet several investigators who analyzed the footage say something about it feels off. One retired federal agent reportedly described the movements as almost theatrical, as if the person expected the cameras to capture them. Even the ransom demand itself has left experts puzzled. Cryptocurrency wallets were created, millions were demanded, yet no money was ever transferred. In a typical kidnapping situation, communication continues, pressure increases, and negotiations escalate. But in this case, nothing happened afterward. No additional messages, no threats, just silence. Because of that, some investigators now suspect the ransom demand may have been designed to mislead, a distraction rather than the real objective. Meanwhile, the public response exploded. Candlelight vigils appeared across Tucson. National media outlets began covering the story daily. Families around the country followed every update with growing concern. But behind the scenes, tension inside the investigation itself was beginning to rise. And then another disturbing discovery reportedly emerged. Forensic teams identified 2 unknown DNA profiles at the scene. Neither matched Nancy Guthrie, and more importantly, neither matched the other. Experts say findings like that can complicate a case dramatically because they introduce the possibility that multiple unidentified individuals may have been present. Was Nancy targeted by strangers, or did someone with insider knowledge help plan what happened? That question remains unanswered. And as investigators start examining Nancy's business relationships, charity partnerships, and financial networks, they uncovered an intricate web of connections reaching far beyond her immediate family. In other words, Nancy Guthrie was not just a private citizen living quietly in Tucson. She was a powerful figure with far-reaching ties. And in investigations like this, connections can change everything. Social media responded immediately. Online theories exploded within hours. Some users defended the family and urged patience, while others began questioning the official narrative altogether. One viral comment read, "If this were truly a kidnapping, why hasn't anyone paid the ransom?" Another user wrote, "It feels like someone wanted everyone focused on the money while something else was happening." Meanwhile, investigators confirmed another troubling reality. There's still no verified proof that Nancy is alive. No confirmed phone calls. No credible sightings. Just the masked figure captured on camera, the untouched cryptocurrency wallets, and an ever-growing list of unanswered questions. Which brings us back to the mystery that continues to haunt this case. What actually happened inside that house on the night Nancy Guthrie disappeared? Was this the work of a carefully organized abduction? A targeted operation planned in advance? Or something even more complicated involving people Nancy trusted the most? Because the deeper investigators dig, the more possibilities begin to emerge. And if there's one thing that seems certain right now, it's this: the story is far from over. In fact, investigators believe the most important answers may still be ahead. So now the question shifts to you. Was Nancy Guthrie the victim of a calculated kidnapping, or is something much larger unfolding behind the scenes that investigators have yet to reveal? Let me know what you think in the comments, and stay tuned, because in cases like this, the moment the truth finally surfaces, everything can change.